I wrote and was a co-author of the Social Democrat Socialist statement. I stand by our words that if one is talking about something of such enormous importance to the country that the leader of the opposition is accused, then clearly the danger that is arising from political motivation, or that the charges or potential charges can result from political motivation and selective justice rather than independent and objective investigation and decision to press charges. The potential is there. I'm not saying that has happened. I can't say that because I can't know that. But I have said, and the European Parliament has said, and the European Commission has said, we are concerned about apparent selective justice in the country. So there have been other instances where we have been sadly forced to conclude that is a concern about the country, and therefore if these allegations do have substance to them, then I think it is a proper and reasonable thing for my party in this Parliament, but also for the European Union as a whole, as it has the governments, as you rightly say, to say that this can only result from an independent investigation that is beyond doubt objective and independent.
Now the Commissioner for Enlargement, Johannes Hahn, announced his visit to Macedonia in the second half of February, I think. Do you know what will be his message in Macedonia?
I've had the advantage of spending some hours talking with the new Commissioner. I'm the former rapporteur. I remain the shadow responsible for my parties for the country, and I've briefed Johannes Hahn in detail, as well as the new rapporteur. And I think our combined message in the country is that political dialogue between the major parties in government and in opposition is an absolutely cornerstone part of democracy and democratic norms, and its absence is a huge block to the country moving forward. And I have to say I feel very, very sad and regretful that here I am with the draft European Parliament report on the country's accession in the European Parliament, that I've put forward amendments. I'm negotiating those with the new rapporteur and the other parties, trying to say what can we do to restore political dialogue. And then even during the period that the amendments are on the table and before the negotiations have properly begun, that we have an event that has put back political dialogue further than any of us dared fear. And I'm not quite sure, speaking tonight in Brussels, how that can be overcome, but I know it must be overcome, and that's my message, and that will be the Commissioner's message too.
Now, when you speak about this political dialogue, even Mr. Oraf, who is the EU ambassador in Skopje, he said 2 days ago that it is a little bit strange to talk about political dialogue in this situation. Do you think that Macedonia have retake his normal path to the European integration and wait for accession talks, or this accession talks and recommendation does not have sense anymore?
Can I deal with that in two parts? One is what I've arrived and what I've said. Actually, I think they're rather similar. That both of us find it very, very difficult to get on with business as usual in our responsibilities in relation to the country, different ones of course, but both trying to advance the country's interests in Europe, and given the events there. But what the European Commission and the European Union has said, and what I repeat through your audience tonight, is that, as I understand it, the police have announced the charges, but not yet the prosecutor, that this is a pre-investigatory stage. Now, I obviously, any investigation must be done properly, fairly, and I argue independently. But in case of the charges not yet having been put, if the result is that the prosecutor decides not to press charges, not because of political pressure from me or anyone else, we don't want political pressure to be infecting or poisoning the judicial system in the country. But if the charges are not put, well, maybe things can look different again, and I can't predict what will happen with that. But I do think it's in everyone's interest that whatever investigations take place quickly, and if the decision to press charges or not press charges can come quickly, that could change the situation. Now, you then asked me, how does this affect European ambitions and the accession process? It's very easy in the midst of a hot moment, a crisis, and this is a crisis, to say and do things that then have long-term consequences which are later regretted. And I've always sought myself, as the rapporteur in the past, the shadow rapporteur, and my party spokesperson today, to try to bring a level of maturity, thoughtfulness, constructive attitude, engagement in the long-term interests of the country. And therefore, still tonight, I will preach a message which says that let this situation be dealt with properly, fairly, well, I hope quickly and decisively, but then not try to use that to then threaten things or suggest things that can be in the long term very, very damaging to the country. And that's still, as a friend of the country, as an advocate of its European accession, that's still what I say tonight. But what is happening in the country is making that argument and my position more difficult, not easier.
Now, the prosecutor announced yesterday a broadcast ban in all materials that can come out, and the punishment for medias who, if they publish the information on this case. Do you think that this is a legal request in a democratic society?
Well, we have rules in my own country, in our own European Union societies, that if a case is in court, then there are restrictions on how the media, not whether, but how the media reports the case, so that it doesn't prejudice the court proceedings. And to that degree, I can understand that that the judicial authorities themselves, this is a decision of the judicial authorities themselves, have a proper motivation to ensure that no reporting prejudices any proceedings. But if that announcement is instead motivated by political concerns to try to prevent allegations that should be in the public domain from being in the public domain, that would be wholly wrong. And you've just asked me a question, shouldn't the Leader of the Opposition publish allegations if he has them? Well, you're right to ask me the questions, I don't criticise you, but if, as I say, the answer to that is yes, then surely it's the duty then of the media within the country to make sure that they're fully and fairly understood, and anyone who's criticised has got a proper right of reply. That's the media doing its job in a free and pluralistic media environment, the sort of environment we want to see in Skopje in the country. And so the answer to both of the questions is yes, not just to one of them.